Another ridiculous week here in Phoenix Suns land as not one but two big reports come out, setting the stage for what should be an insane offseason. Already is one. Aaron Edwards is here to recap everything, close out the week here on Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 5 seasons and a writer at Suns.com and Dime Magazine. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen today and every day. Closing out a very busy week here with more and more news coming out about the Suns. So hit subscribe, hit follow wherever you're listening. And if you're finding us on YouTube, that is and continues to be the best way to support the show. So hit subscribe right down below and drop a comment. Just give me a 1 to 10 scale of how insane you think it's actually going to be when we get to the transaction part of this whole offseason. Because right now is just news and rumors and us all guessing. It's only going to get crazier. So give me that 1 to 10 rating of how crazy it will end up being. Aaron Edwards is here. He's a writer at All Caps NBA over on the Take Line YouTube channel. Aaron, how are you doing with all of this NBA stuff? It feels like we're just getting our toes wet with the insanity that this league gives us. Are you excited for it? How are you feeling?
It's been cool. Like, when the playoffs start, it's like a game every day, and the stories are kind of like low. I mean, there was some Zion stuff, but for the most part, the off the floor stuff doesn't really come up as much at the beginning of the playoffs. But you can tell with the season dying down that the drama is starting now. And I love the NBA offseason. Like, the more stuff, like, since I'm at All Caps, like, we get to talk about pretty much everything. The more ridiculous it is, the better. But now we're getting into who's playing where and who wants to leave and free agency and stuff. And that's kind of like one of my favorite parts of the NBA.
I don't know. I do worry that, like, there's a part of it that can alienate some casual fans because you do have to be kind of up on it in order to keep up with it. But I mean, we all love it. I don't think it's possible to be like a big NBA fan if you hate it at this point because it's all just part of it. It's always been crazy to me, though. This is unrelated to the Suns, obviously, but like how long the coaching stuff takes in the NBA is really weird because in other leagues it feels like it's like right off the bat. You have like 5 coaches. Everybody gets fired at once. Like in the NFL, it's all in one day. And then by the end of that week, like 3 teams already have their coach. In the NBA, it's like, oh yeah, like this team still needs a coach, or like the Jazz, like got out of the playoffs a month ago. Now they're just now finding out they're going to have to do a search. It's very weird, but yeah, go ahead.
I think when it comes to like basketball and football, like you can kind of wait to find a coach. Like it's still hooping at the end of the day. Everybody knows how to run motion. Everybody knows how to block out and do all this stuff. Like for the most part, you can get a coach late and you can plug them in. In the NFL, you're learning somebody's whole different scheme. You're learning a new defensive scheme. You're learning a whole new offensive lingo. Like you got to do all that stuff. So that's why in the NFL, if you're waiting a long time to get a coach, like your team is starting off way behind. NBA wise, like you can kind of wait to do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And then the NFL coaches are like pseudo like vice presidents of personnel, right? Like their hands are on everything. In the NBA, it's not really that way. Speaking of front office people and insane NBA rumors, we had John Hollinger at The Athletic, who used to be the GM of the Grizzlies, report sort of that he said, quote, it's more likely than not that Ayton leaves. He sort of hedged, and it was like this, I've been talking to more people, and here's the thing that I came up with. The funniest part to me, and I don't know if this hit you the same way, he put it in a Pistons Q&A. Like, is this like big bombshell news? And it's like, hold on, like you have to be on like the Detroit section of The Athletic, and then you have to be like 2 questions in, and then it's like, oh, the biggest free agent of the summer is probably going to leave. We'll just drop that nugget for you. It was weird, but what did you think of it?
I think like pretty much anybody could have done it at this point. Like it is fairly obvious Ayton isn't happy. Like it's just by not saying anything, he's not happy. This has been the weirdest offseason for the Suns because we got embarrassed and the team just disappeared sort of. Like everybody just kind of just went under a rock. And it was just fairly obvious that there were problems. And Ayton just disappearing kind of told me all I needed to know. Like he held on with the uncertainty of his contract the entire season. And for the most part, didn't cry about it and just kind of went on with his job. And he waited till all those zeros hit the clock. And now he gets to feel his feelings. And he's probably going to do that now.
Yeah, good thing he has a son. But let's hope he's getting some better sleep than he seemed to be during the season, if you catch my drift there. Let me ask you this. Well, first of all, actually, I have something to say on that because Book, this is one of those things where I feel like we, as like people who respect Book, sometimes want to pump him up to be a bigger star than he is, and like MVP stuff. There was a whole debate, and like he doesn't get respect and this and that. This is one of those times where Book should probably be pretty glad that he doesn't get that level of scrutiny like the very biggest stars in this league, because imagine if Kevin Durant lost in a game 7 like that and then went on vacation with a Kardashian. Like there is part of me that's like he is skating. I'm not the type who's going to critique anybody on any of that anyway. I don't really even care or like think about it that much. But like Stephen A. Smith, those guys would be on him if he mattered like that. He doesn't. And I feel like that's one way where it's a little benefit of you get to disappear when you're not LeBron James or Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I mean, social media wise, like people forget that Kobe lost a game 7 to Boston by like 40 points once. And we just didn't know what he did after. Yeah, he probably went to the gym, but if anybody saw Kobe like go to the Caribbean after losing a game 7 in the finals by 40, like everybody has feelings about what players do and how they handle losses. I don't mind what he's doing. Like Book is still 25 years old or something like that. So he's going to do 20-year-old stuff. So like, I'm not going to knock a dude he got blown out and it was pretty embarrassing, but I'm not going to knock him for going out with a gorgeous woman
Exactly.
to like relieve himself from that.
And what's hilarious is like, even at the very top of it, like people, talking heads on ESPN or whatever, it's like, they're going to, even if they did critique him, like, I swear to you that no matter the level of quality of the last broadcast that Stephen A. Smith or Michael Wilbon are on in this season, they're going to be on vacation the next day too. Like we don't go, it wasn't his best broadcast, and now look at him, he's out on the sea on a yacht or something. Like nobody cares. So it's just funny to me. I definitely don't blame him. If I had access to the things that he does, I would not be doing this podcast. So like, look, I'm not going to be the one to throw any shade. I do want to ask you this question on the topic of Ayton. I think you and I are on exactly the same page. That was really my whole show the day after that dropped, was like, why is every report about this act so surprised? You know what I mean? It's like the dude's yelling at his coach during a game 7 where he's trotting around the floor. He didn't get paid last year. He's never been like a perfect hand in glove fit. And then every time we hear news about this guy, it's like, I don't know, those Suns might not want to pay him. It's like, yeah, what was your first clue there? But my question is, I haven't thought about it or talked about it from this angle. If Ayton could pick anywhere of the teams that are realistic, like would actually want to trade for him or have cap space, a lot of the teams we've all been talking about, where would he want to go? Because a lot of this is about he doesn't feel like his role is what it should be. He doesn't feel like he gets to do everything he could do. Where would he want to go, do you think?
I think, honestly, Detroit, a young point guard, like they're not going to be good. And I'm not sure if he like has that. And it's not like a character thing. I'm just not sure if he got the taste of the finals. Is like, I want to get back there that bad again. Like, I'm not sure if he's that type of person. If it's money and playing with someone fun and a young team and getting the ball and running a pick and roll with a younger point guard that he gets to kind of teach also, since he's the older one, I think Detroit is probably going to be like the main spot. And it seems like they want him too. And he gets to be a leader on a team of his own, what is what it looks like.
It's funny to imagine that he gets to Detroit after maybe not getting along like perfectly with Monty, and then he gets Dwayne Casey, who's like the same exact dude. Like they're just old school NBA guys, no nonsense, very like, traditional types of guys, it seems like, who just want to be stable, build a culture, this and that. And then it just feels like he's looking Monty in the eyes again when he gets to Trey. Mine was, and this is funny too, because it's the same exact thing again. Atlanta to me. And it's the same type of thing you're saying. I don't think he would be the guy there quite as much, because that's always going to be Trey's team and like Trey's city. And like, there's no doubt about that. John Collins is already kind of seemingly not super comfortable with that whole situation. I'm not sure if it's always the best time to be Trae Young's teammate, just from what we've heard and some of that stuff. But like, talk about fun. You get to keep winning. There's not a ton of pressure on you because you're never going to have to be the best player. But you probably get to do a little more. I'm not sure, though. What do you think? Because I think with Cade, like you're saying, he plays off guys a little bit more. I feel like with a situation like Trey, or like people have talked about Ayton to Dallas, I don't think that's happening now, though. Like, you're kind of just – it's another Chris Paul a little bit.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. It's like, he doesn't want to set screens and get the ball on somebody else's terms anymore, is what it sounds like. He doesn't want that pace. He doesn't want to set high screens and hope he gets the ball anymore. And in a lot of these scenarios, that's what he's going to do. Like, he's definitely going to do that in Dallas. He's definitely going to do that in Atlanta. Like, Trey literally has to get bodies off of him sometimes. So I just don't see what his end game would be other than Detroit, where – they might clear out and let him get the ball at the top corner and see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the other places that are kind of not talked about a ton, but could also be options, like Portland or Charlotte. Those are also teams. I mean, the bottom line is, like, if you're a big man in the NBA in 2022, that's just what you do, period. So if he does want to prove that he can be more, I kind of feel like you might be right that he has to take a little bit of a step back in terms of winning and just go back. And it's kind of like what Jeremy Grant just did in Detroit, right? Where it's like, hey, I know my role on a great team is like this thing. It's shoot threes, defend LeBron, and play 30 minutes doing that. But like, I can do more. So I can't do that in Denver. I have to leave. I guess that's what it is. I don't know. It's easy for me to say that, like, that's not how I would handle it. A lot of us might think that. It's one thing to get that opportunity. I get why that's appealing. We'll have to see where he wants to go. Let's talk about the other. Oh. Go ahead. No.
No, I don't know what he wants his usage to be. Like, as a big, like, he's not a big that gets to the line, so he can't be Embiid's usage. Like, he can't get work like that. And he's not a passer like Jokic, so putting the ball in his hand and having him make decisions, like, he can't do that either. And Jokic also gets to the line, so I don't know what he sees his high usage as. Like, I don't know what type of player he thinks with the ball in his hands he's going to be.
I mean, we're back to the conversation from 2018. Like, this was the thing about him coming out of Arizona is like, okay, you were that in college against less competition. You lost to Buffalo in the first round. Like, I get that you're, like, we can only judge him off of when he's done it. I understand all the things about college basketball. I'm not trying to say that I'm never going to change my opinion on him, but like, he had that opportunity for a year to show us what that looked like, and it didn't work. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't dominate. So it's like, what else? What do you point to? That rookie year with Igor Kokoshkov, like, he was good. He produced on good efficiency, and he had the ball more in the post. I think you could imagine growing from there, but like, I just still don't necessarily know what the path is to being him being a big part of a winning team that looks more like a team that he has the ball more. I mean, it's probably like some of those mid-series games against the Pelicans where he was incredible and scoring in the posts and rebounding and defending. But we've really only seen that in bits and pieces. Yeah. So
he stopped putting the ball on the floor immediately after that series. Like, when he dribbles twice or three times, like, he's really good. Will he do that consistently? I don't know. But if we do bring him back, I would like to see the Ayton that is comfortable putting the ball on the floor 3 or 4 times and showing that he can handle the ball.
Yeah. Yep. Completely agree. Let's see what Aaron thinks about this COVID situation. I yelled about it for 15 minutes yesterday. We'll see if our thoughts align. First, though, guys, today's show brought to you by BetOnline, your number one source for all sports betting info, stats, news, analysis, all of it to inform your betting throughout the sports calendar. We obviously have the basketball playoffs wrapping up. We have the WNBA season in full swing. The NHL finals are here. The baseball season's still going. Fights every weekend, obviously. Tennis, golf in full swing now that it's the summer. No shortage of stuff to bet on, and BetOnline is the place to go to do it. Let's see what we have on NBA Finals MVP. I was looking at this earlier because I was like, maybe Jaylen Brown playing really well last night. I can get some good odds on Jason Tatum for MVP. BetOnline has him at -105. Best player on the winning team. That's usually what it is. It would be a big upset if Jaylen Brown got it, but I thought maybe things would sway. Steph Curry +210 though. That is pretty nice. I mean, we're only 3 games into this thing. It could change in a hurry if Golden State wins. +210 might be the best Steph Finals MVP odds you get unless the Warriors go down again in the series. So just keep checking. Series props. See obviously who's going to win the finals. It's all there. Go to their website, betonline.ag, or use their mobile device to learn more about the latest trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Aaron, so I will not take the floor for too long here. I'll just recap for those who maybe missed it or didn't listen yesterday. The Suns reportedly had a COVID outbreak that included 6 people, 5 I don't even know what the wording was, like behind-the-scenes staff or something, which is a really vague thing to say. And then 1 player, we probably can all deduce the likeliest person there. What did you think when you saw this come down? How will it affect your memory of what happened in that second round?
Let me preface this by saying, because I know how people's reactions, especially Dallas fans, this isn't why we lost, guys. We just got our ass kicked, and that's really it. Like, you outplayed us. I know that's what you want to hear. We lost because we got shook, like Mikal Bridges said.
Just make that the title of the episode. Yes, the Mavericks won fair and square, or something like that's straight up all that. I'm honestly surprised at how many of them are still listening to this damn show. You don't like the team. Get off the freaking feed. Unsubscribe. I don't even care at this point.
So, like, I just wanted to say that first. But also, like, it was very obvious that something was going on with this team. I still don't think it was just the COVID thing. I think it was a lot more than that. But this isn't surprising. Like, I was at the game. Like, Arizona hasn't really been a model of COVID security. So somebody was probably going to get it at some point. So I wasn't really surprised. Like, I was more surprised by everyone's reaction. Like, it was what caused our ass whipping. Like, I think it was strictly basketball. And one of our players just out there running around and not doing anything. So that was probably my biggest takeaway from it.
This is a part I didn't get into a ton. Do you think this is why we don't even know the extent of what actually happened, but there are those rumors that Monty and Chris had a little bit of a falling out. Do you think this had something to do with it? And if so, like, how does it factor into you? Like, was it that Monty was trying to tell Chris not to play? Were they arguing about how to handle it, whether to come out with it or hide it? Like, I don't know where I land, but I do think it obviously could have caused some friction.
I can see it maybe being an issue, but I think regardless of if he had it or not, schematic-wise, like, this was going to happen. He was giving up an easy switch to Luka every time, and he just couldn't handle guarding him that much. I don't think COVID was going to stop that from happening or beefing with the coach. I think at the end of the day, like, whether him and Monty had a problem or not, like, schematic-wise and personnel-wise, this was always going to happen. So it really doesn't matter, like, what they're.
Feels like he could have been better on offense, though. Like, if it was Chris who had it, again, we don't know.
Yeah.
If it was Chris who had it, like, I agree with you. They were giving up, like, the way that they were playing defense was screwing him over and screwing the team over. I don't know why they were doing that. But offensively, if he's, 90% of himself, even if we understand, like, he wears down anyway without getting COVID every year, I feel like they're more competitive if they're scoring better. Like, he was a non-factor as a scorer, and I do think that could explain some of that. Again, not an excuse. I'll do something for Mavs fans that make them feel like I'm being honest, but, like, I don't think it's an excuse, but I do think the offensive side could have been better.
Yeah, I think the fact that he wasn't even a threat to shoot was just going to be an issue for any team. Like, you see what's happening to the Warriors right now. Draymond is literally not a threat to shoot, and it just makes any team easier to defend. And I think that might have been one of the issues that Monty had with Chris was just the hurting the team wise. Like, what's going on with you? Like, if you're out there doing nothing, then I can't do anything with that. And your backup is campaign, so that doesn't help anybody. I just think that
I love
that was probably
idea of him saying that to Chris. He just goes, "Your backup is campaign, and there's nothing else that needs to be said." It just it's understood.
Yeah, so I just think like Monty just had zero options. Like we've said this before, Chris Paul just hijacked the team, and when you have to play. You have to play him, and you have to play at his speed and his way. It's just, and he's not even doing the thing that he usually does. It's going to hurt the team regardless.
Yeah, it's a mess. This part is a little bit of the harder part to talk about, but I got into it with people about it. Like, how much does it frustrate you that the Suns were shady about it and like kept things under wraps? Does that bother you? Do you feel like they should get, criticism for hiding this? I just, the place that I come down is the NBA's policy was incredibly lax on purpose, as was the NFL's. And I just have a hard time believing that the Suns are the only team that had some guy coughing and didn't make him take a test.
Yeah, we talked about this on All Caps. It was like Jason has this theory. I'll wait till it comes out tomorrow. But it's about certain players during the finals. If it came out that they had COVID, would the NBA have stopped them from playing? And I just think the NBA was just not really caring at this year. I think if it happened in 2021, I think that it would have came out earlier. But this season, I think they kind of just decided to lax it a little bit and just dropped the ball a couple of times. And it just seems like a lot more players miss games because of COVID. I mean, Paul George missed a play-in game. So I don't know where they were able to draw the line on who should get tested and who matters.
In that story, it said Paul George had like a pretty severe case. Like, it was pretty extreme. So I'm sure it got to the point where it's like, dude, like you can't be on the court. You're going to be like violently coughing and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, like even in 2021 though, didn't Thanasis get it? But we were just supposed to believe Giannis didn't get it, right? I'm not saying he did or didn't, and then LeBron goes to that party and we're all just like, oh, it didn't fall under the NBA rules. Don't worry about it.
That's what Jason says, though. He thinks Giannis had it in 2021.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I would have a hard time believing that any reasonable person who's making policies on this stuff would have said Giannis should quarantine, get tested, whatever. And they were like, no, it was no big deal.
But to answer your question, like, yeah, I think sitting on it for, a month now? I think that's just a bad look in general. I think the league knew already. It wasn't like just the Suns knew. I think the league tried to sit on it. And something like that was always going to get out. A team lost by 40 and a bunch of people had COVID. Like, that was just always going to be one of those dots that people tried to connect. I don't think it mattered. I think that was just an us losing thing. But I think the league saying it earlier would have at least just taken a little bit of the heat off.
For sure. Let's close out here talking a little bit about the draft, where I guess Aaron will only be here one more time before the draft. We're only less than 2 weeks out now. So we'll talk about the Suns getting younger, just this idea that I've been stuck on. And doesn't make sense for the Suns to try to get in there. Does it make sense for them to invest in young talent at all, or should they just keep charging along with this window? First, though, guys, today's show brought to you by Sakara. Now is the time to seek wellness, joy, and abundance in all areas of your life, starting with what you eat. With Sakara, you get nutrient-dense meal, snacks, and supplements that nourish your body without ever sacrificing taste or quality. Sakara is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. Sakara gives you the tools to transform your life with their organic, ready-to-eat meal delivery program and functional wellness essentials. Their nutritionally designed, chef-crafted breakfasts, lunches, and dinners are made with powerful plant-rich ingredients helping boost your energy, support your digestion, curb your sugar cravings, and get your skin glowing. Plus, it's all delivered right to your door, ready to eat. Sakara's functional plant-rich wellness essentials help you create a body you love living in, from their best-selling metabolism super powder to the Foundation, their daily supplement packs. Sakara's products are designed to support your wellness goals anytime, anywhere. And right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/lockedon20 or enter code LOCKEDON20 at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/LOCKEDON20 to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/LOCKEDON20. All right, Aaron. So let me ask you this question first, because a lot of people have been throwing out, not just like random people on the internet or like fans who are making trades up, but we had John Gambadoro locally and some other people that are throwing the idea of the Suns getting a pick in this year's draft back for Deandre Ayton around. And that's not really legal. So do you think that, like, is that something we should be taking seriously? How surprised would you be if the Suns orchestrated something like that, where part of the trade that they do on July 1st ends up being a guy who just got drafted this year? Because that's kind of the order it would have to happen in.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Like, I thought it would just be, I mean, I think we would get a pick for Ayton, but not this year. I think it's going to be player pick, sign and trade kind of thing. But I don't see us getting, and I don't know if we really want to. Like, it would be a late pick, I think. And I'm not sure if we want a late pick in this draft in particular. There are some good players, and there are some dudes that I really like, but I just don't see us pulling that off, especially for a dude that's kind of wants to leave. And, yeah, I know we can sign him and keep him if we want, but a dude that really wants to leave, I just don't think you're getting a pick this year anyway.
How much – yeah, that's a good question. How much do you think the leverage has – like the balance of leverage has changed based on what we've heard with the Suns? I mean, this is not so much about the draft anymore. I have another question for you about the draft, but we heard the more than likely thing from Hollinger. We have the Monty getting into it with Ayton stuff. We have all these teams that are reportedly interested. Do you feel like the Suns have more or less leverage than they did maybe like heading into the playoffs?
I think leverage for any team now, like with players, this is player empowerment era, so I'm not sure any team ever really has leverage. Like Zion set out this year, and there was talk of him wanting to renew his contract when he was still under his rookie deal. Like, these players kind of can do whatever they want now, and that's where the next CBA is just going to be a problem. And I think the Suns still technically have all the power because they can make him stay if they want. They can pay him the most money still, and they can match whoever. But I just think when a dude really doesn't want to be here, that's just going to cause problems with a 37-year-old point guard who it doesn't seem like he likes all that much, and a coach who he beefed with on a Game 7. Like, I just don't think you want to keep him here, but I still think technically the Suns have all the power to keep him if they want to play that type of game and play hardball with him.
Yeah, I'll just say I agree with you on the draft pick thing. I mean, I did throw around that like Clint Capella and 16 thing. I guess, yeah, I don't see it. I was holding out hope that it could make some sense, but it would be too fishy, and it requires too many things to like perfectly line up and whatnot. There would have to be conversation on the front end for it to work out. Like, you know what I mean? Like the thought of like, oh, the Hawks just happened to draft a guy we really loved. Like, come on, that's not really realistic. I think the leverage thing, the one point I'll make on that is I agree with you. I mean, obviously restricted free agency, the team always has that leverage. In terms of trade, I don't think it's changed too much. I kind of feel though, like the point that's not getting enough attention there is I still think the Suns want to get it wrapped up, either figure out a sign and trade like this month or give him a contract, verbal agreement type of thing this month. Like, I don't think that they're going to wait for him to go get an offer and then just like have a bunch of meetings and decide if they're going to match, because that also, I mean, one, that just wouldn't be very smart. It would be getting like caught off guard a lot.
Yeah.
But it would also be, they can't trade him for a year. If it gets to the point where they match, they can't trade him for a year. So that whole idea that a lot of people have been throwing out of like, well, they could just keep him and then maybe trade him at next year's deadline. It's like, yes, but only if they sign him themselves now, which is that whole like kind of order of operation stuff is another part of why I keep thinking it is a real possibility that he doesn't stay. Because if you're saying either he goes and gets an offer and just stays with that team, or they trade him, or they sign him. I think them signing him is the third most likely thing at this point. I just said I don't think the matching is a super likely thing, which means that you're left with the trade. So the other question I had for you on the draft side of things, though, is I asked this to Damon, who came on the show yesterday. Do you think there's anybody outside of Chris, Book, Ayton, Mikal, and Cam Johnson that's worth a first-round pick on this team in a trade, like just straight up?
No.
Okay. Because it could be Jay Crowder. You could try to convince me that Landry Shamet was just worth the first last year in theory, right?
But, yeah, and then he played.
Yeah, that's fair. But Jay's a no. You don't think they could get a first?
No, I don't think he's going to be here, but I don't think we're getting a first for him either.
Yeah, it feels like a stack up and get a player back for a combination of those guys. Then let me ask you this: how important do you think it is? There's probably going to be an Ayton trade of talks around an Ayton trade. They have these Saric, Shamet, Crowder, Cameron Payne contracts that they can try to put together. Maybe there'll be talks about Chris Paul. I don't know. Maybe there'll be talks about Cam Johnson. I don't know. How important is it in terms of like what your goals would be in those trades? Obviously, you want to get good players back because you don't want to necessarily take a big step back in getting it toward a championship. But if everything else is equal, how big of a deal is it for you to try to get younger players in those deals versus older players? Because I'm way on the like reset a little bit, get guys in their mid-20s if you can, and like try to get back to the timeline of Book a little bit more.
Yeah, I think like dude's closer to Book. Book is technically a vet now, so it's not like we need like a vet to like help this team win and like do all that stuff. Like having Chris Paul was nice, but sooner or later the body part just catches up. I think just going a little younger and just getting ball handlers should just be the main goal of this team. Like I just think that was the issue in just getting ball handlers in around the mid-20s. I think that would be just a nice goal for the team.
Yeah. It's just hard. I mean, I can say that all day, but it's
they're not growing on trees. Like I know you're just not going to find one anywhere, but that has to be the goal. It was pretty noticeable that nobody could dribble by anybody. Like everybody, it's out on this team now. Everybody knows what beats the Suns.
I don't know if you saw this was also from John Hollinger, and he does his like free agent rankings every year, uses a bunch of numbers, and he does the thing I like about it is it's not just like one of those like Bleacher Report things where it's like some random person's opinion about whatever. It's like he tries to do a dollar value for each of them, so it's not so much ranking them like who he likes, it's how much is each guy going to get paid. Colin Sexton, who I understand the good and bad of him, but he's never been he didn't get to play with the Cavs this year, so we've never really seen him on a competitive team before. He was valued by Hollinger's whole calculation at like $11 million a year. I'm like, sign me up for that. Like if the Suns could get him, I know he's a restricted free agent and they don't have cap space, so it would be some sort of weird sign and trade thing. But a player like that, I know I said Kobe White at one point. I think he is probably similar in terms of like, not a lot of high level interest in him. He's not going to be looking for like a max or something crazy. He's very gettable. Those types of guys is a big place that I would be looking. Just a little bit undervalued. You're counting on Monty to be able to put them in a good position to succeed and, give you a little bit more juice. Somebody who has a more well-rounded game than Cam Payne. Yeah, I mean, again, they don't grow on trees, but whether it's the draft pick or something else, I think that has to happen. But any last thoughts as I'm sure there's going to be something insane for us to talk about next week, but.
Nothing. I'm just ready to see what we do with Chris Paul mostly. It's just all I can think about.
I'm ready for one of these people to talk, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, can we get CP on JJ Redick's podcast again or something? Like, even just getting Mikal. I was going to talk to you about the Mikal thing. I meant to do that. But like even something like that, just give us 10 minutes explaining what the hell happened from their perspectives, because we haven't heard from them since Game 7.
From what I'm hearing from someone close to the situation, Book is going to be on JJ Redick's pod this summer, so I'm sure he'll clear a lot of stuff.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll get all the closure we need. There will be a lot of Kobe talk there. Maybe he can make fun of Jason Tatum for the weird things he's doing with his clothes. But that'll close us out today, guys. Back next week. We'll see what happens. A couple weeks out from the draft, things are going to start to happen. About a week before the draft is when the trades start to come. So we only have a little bit longer. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys Monday. A big thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen today and every day. Now, keep going with draft coverage. Listen to Locked On NBA Big Board as your second listen heading into the weekend.